23% of women in this nation report having no close confidants. In 1990, that figure stood at 5%. A single generation witnessed this transformation from 5 to 23. These aren't merely numbers on a page. This represents a fundamental fracture in how we connect, and statistics suggest you might recognize yourself in these figures. I'm Marian Castellanos, 74 years old. For 32 years, I captained commercial fishing vessels out of the Aleutian ports. Long-haul operations, weeks at sea, nothing but the rhythm of waves against hull and the mechanical hum of engines cutting through fog banks. I understand isolation in ways most people never experience. I've learned to distinguish between chosen solitude and crushing loneliness. What I'm about to share nearly killed me because I didn't understand it soon enough. My husband Thomas died 7 years ago this March. We shared 49 years together. His death revealed something devastating about the architecture of my life. I had never learned how to exist independently. Those decades aboard fishing vessels, surrounded by nothing but ocean and sky, I was never truly alone. Thomas waited at home. He managed our social ecosystem, remembered whose children graduated college, which neighbors needed checking on, when to send condolence cards. He organized dinner parties, maintained family connections, kept our calendar of obligations. My role was simpler: appear when directed. After his death, the infrastructure collapsed. I possessed no friends I could telephone. My daughter lives in Vermont with her own family and concerns. My son settled in Arizona. For nearly 18 months, I barely left my armchair. The television stayed on constantly. I dropped 31 pounds. My physician warned I was engaging in slow suicide. I'm aware, I told her, but I'm still here. 74 years old, alone in this coastal house, no longer waiting for the end. Something fundamental shifted. Understanding this distinction saved me. Being alone differs entirely from experiencing loneliness. A crowded room can feel desperately isolating. Solitude can feel completely peaceful. Loneliness isn't determined by physical proximity to others. Loneliness stems from your relationship with yourself. Consider this carefully. If you were choosing a companion for every remaining moment of your existence, what qualities would matter? You'd want honesty, someone willing to speak uncomfortable truths rather than comfortable lies. You'd want encouragement, someone who recognizes potential and gently pushes toward growth. You'd want compassion, someone who acknowledges failures without weaponizing them endlessly. These are the qualities you must cultivate internally. Here's the reality young women especially don't hear often enough. You are your only guaranteed lifelong companion. Every other relationship exists temporarily. Parents die. Partners may die first or leave. Children build separate lives. Friends drift away. But you remain present every morning you wake, every night you sleep. You cannot escape this companionship. If you can't tolerate your own company, you face a serious problem. I couldn't tolerate myself. That first year after Thomas's death, I despised being trapped inside my own mind. The television went on the instant I woke, not from genuine interest, but because silence became unbearable. Being alone with my thoughts felt torturous. Those thoughts circled endlessly: regrets, harsh self-judgment, catalogs of mistakes, inventories of failures. For 49 years, I had outsourced my emotional infrastructure to my husband. He provided reassurance when I doubted myself. He offered forgiveness when I failed. He encouraged persistence when I wanted to quit. When he died, I possessed zero skills for managing these functions independently. At 70 years old, I had never developed the capacity to be my own companion. I had to learn from scratch. First lesson: honest self-assessment matters. Not brutal self-flagellation. Not pretending perfection, just clear-eyed honesty about who you are and what you've done. I had to acknowledge that I'd been an inadequate mother during my children's early years. The fishing schedule kept me away for extended periods. When I returned home, Exhaustion dominated. I didn't give my children the attention they deserved. This truth needed facing, not for self-punishment, but because you cannot be comfortable with someone who constantly lies to you, including yourself. Second lesson, self-forgiveness is essential. After acknowledging truth, you must extend forgiveness. You say, yes, that wasn't acceptable, but I'm human. I did what I could with the knowledge and resources available then. I'm not that person now if I choose differently. If solitude means only self-recrimination about the past, you'll flee it constantly. You'll chase any distraction. Streaming services, wine, dysfunctional relationships, anything to escape the internal critic who never stops attacking. Learning self-kindness proved harder than any physical challenge I'd faced. It sounds soft, weak. I'm an old commercial fisher who worked through storms and equipment failures, and I'm telling you that learning self-kindness ranks among the most difficult things a woman can do, because we're socialized against it. We're taught to sacrifice and accommodate and never complain. There's value in resilience, but there's a difference between strength and cruelty. Many women treat themselves with a cruelty they'd never inflict on others. Third lesson, become someone you respect. Not someone others respect, someone you respect. Because you're spending every moment alone with yourself, and if you don't respect that person, solitude becomes torture. What does this mean practically? It means tackling difficult challenges, keeping promises to yourself, building something, learning something, contributing something. After Thomas died, I taught myself furniture restoration. 70 years old, I'd never done anything more complicated than basic repairs. I bought books, watched videos, started with a simple chair. I ruined several pieces before producing anything decent, but I was actively doing something, developing competence, becoming someone capable of self-sufficiency. This gave me grounds for self-respect. I started swimming every morning, regardless of weather. I live on the Oregon coast. Weather happens constantly. But I swim 45 minutes before breakfast because I promised myself I would. I keep promises to myself with the same seriousness I'd keep promises to anyone else. When you break promises to yourself, you lose self-respect. Without self-respect, you can't tolerate your own company. Fourth lesson, find something meaningful to do. Not something lucrative or impressive to others, something meaningful to you. Something that makes waking up worthwhile. For me, it's painting. Watercolors mostly, seascapes and coastal scenes. Perhaps it sounds trivial, a 74-year-old woman spending hours painting. But it engages my hands and mind. It connects me to the ocean that defined my working life. When I'm painting, loneliness doesn't exist. I'm absorbed, solving problems, creating something. The specific activity matters less than having one. Human beings aren't designed for purposeless existence. We're built to work, create, contribute. When we stop, we begin dying. This isn't metaphorical. Research demonstrates that people with purpose live longer than those without. This is biological reality. Your body recognizes when you've surrendered and begins shutting down. After I started furniture work, swimming, and painting, mornings changed. I stopped dreading them. I stopped sitting in that armchair, wishing for death. I still miss Thomas. I'll miss him until I die. But the loneliness stopped crushing me because I'd become someone whose company I could tolerate. Learning to be alone doesn't mean abandoning human connection. There's substantial discussion about women's loneliness, about withdrawal from community, about isolation. I understand the temptation to conclude, fine, I don't need anyone, I'll manage alone. That's not what I'm advocating. What I'm saying is this: you must be capable of being alone before you can connect with others healthily. When you can't tolerate your own company, you cling to unhealthy relationships. You accept poor treatment because company, any company, beats being alone. You tolerate what you shouldn't tolerate because you're desperate for connection. When you can be alone, when you can be your own companion, you gain the ability to choose relationships instead of needing them. This changes everything. I have friends now, not many, but genuine ones. I attend a fiber arts group every Monday evening at the community center. 7 of us work on various projects: knitting, quilting, weaving. We talk about our grandchildren, local politics, what's hurting today. It's not deep emotional processing. We're older coastal women. That's not our style. But it's connection, community, sufficient. I maintain these friendships because I don't desperately need them. That might sound paradoxical, but it's accurate. I can show up and be myself because I'm not desperate for approval. I'm not clinging to fill an internal void. I've done the work of addressing my own void, so I can be present with them instead of needing them. Women often struggle with friendship development after certain ages. Research confirms this. My experience validates it. We build friendships through shared activities, common projects, mutual interests. We're often conditioned to prioritize others' emotional needs over expressing our own, which can paradoxically make authentic connection harder. You don't have to become someone you're not, but you must make effort. Show up somewhere consistently. Be willing to initiate conversation with strangers. Accept that it's awkward and uncomfortable and do it anyway. I almost skipped that first fiber arts meeting. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 30 minutes, trying to talk myself into leaving. 70 years old and terrified of entering a room of strangers. But I went because I knew the alternative. Dying alone in that armchair, undiscovered for days. Something important for younger women facing this. Don't let loneliness ferment into bitterness. Don't let it become resentment toward the world, toward men, toward society. I see young women consumed by anger because they're lonely and don't know how to address it. I understand that anger. Loneliness causes genuine pain, physical pain. Research shows it's as health-damaging as smoking 15 cigarettes daily. The pain is real. But the answer isn't withdrawing in bitter isolation. The answer is becoming someone worthy of connection, not demanding others connect with you, not blaming others for your isolation, doing the work of becoming someone people want around. That means honesty, kindness, reliability, contributing instead of only taking, and patience. Connection requires time. Friendships don't form overnight. Trust doesn't build in weeks. You must show up repeatedly, month after month, year after year, before relationships deepen into something meaningful. No shortcuts exist. I've been alone 7 years now, truly alone in ways I wasn't for my first 67 years. I can tell you it's survivable, more than survivable. There's unexpected peace in it. I wake when I choose, eat what I want, spend my time according to my own priorities, answer to no one but myself. Worse fates exist, but I had to work for this peace, had to become someone whose company I could stand, had to find purpose, routine, discipline, had to force myself out of that armchair and into the world. It didn't happen accidentally or quickly. You can do this. Whatever your age, whatever your circumstances, you can learn to be your own companion. You can learn to tell yourself truth with kindness. You can learn self-forgiveness, self-respect, self-care. You can build a life that doesn't depend on others while still leaving room for them. It starts with a decision. Will you sit in the armchair waiting to die? Or will you get up and live? I sat in that armchair nearly 18 months before deciding. I hope you don't take that long. Thomas would be proud of me now. He always said I was too stubborn to quit. Turns out he was right. I'm 74 years old. I'm still here. I'm not waiting to die anymore. That's something. Maybe it's everything. Now it's your turn. I want you to do something today, not tomorrow. Today, pick one thing, just one. Something small that you've been putting off because you're alone and it feels pointless. Cook yourself a real meal. Go for a walk. Sign up for that class you've been thinking about. Send a message to someone you haven't talked to in years. Do it badly if you have to. Do it scared. Do it tired, but do it. Because here's what I learned sitting in that armchair for 18 months. Tomorrow never comes. There's only today. And today, you have a choice. You can keep waiting, or you can start living. What's it going to be?